Okay, hello and welcome everyone to today's virtual event on the timely and important topic of cloud optimization. The topic being why application insight is the key to your cloud strategy in 2023. So it's just now December, so we're talking about strategies for 2023, which is quite exciting. So we've got a lot to cover off and a lot of interesting insights in this webinar. So we'll get started. Just a quick note, if you have any questions, please note them in the chat and we will take Q&A at the end. So I'll start by introducing the panel. So I'm Rodney, I'll be the moderator for today's virtual event. And joining us will be Tim Yap, he's the Manager of Pre-Sales Consulting at Secure Agility, Brendan Lewis, Cloud Practice Lead at Secure Agility, and Roger Green, APJC Sales Leader Cloud Software at Cisco. So thanks to all our panelists for joining today. And I'll start with the virtual event with some background and context on cloud, and we'll move to discuss the technology and service delivery benefits for customers towards the end. So if you look at, well, it's been more than a decade now, we've had waves of cloud adoption, which has delivered quite a few gains for business, but also created complexity. It started off as lift and shift infrastructure as a service, so customers were moving from their own data centers to cloud. And then as technology matured, there were options for software as a service, platform as a service, which required less application infrastructure and less setup, which were great. Business units could get involved in deploying the applications that they needed. And nowadays, we're talking about cloud native services and as a service components, which give easy access to niche integrations that customers can use. And it's not an all or nothing game. So we see combinations of infrastructure platforms and software as a service at play that make up a portfolio for any modern enterprise now adopting cloud. And the result of that being we have more sort of as a service to manage than ever. So things like, subscription costs can increase, business units can use cloud, and security doesn't go away. If anything, it gets more complex. So the benefits of cloud adoption for more than a decade now are quite clear, but obviously it's created complexity for a lot of organizations who are not being able to manage it cohesively. So that's what we'll cover off in today's virtual event, with the key theme being that multiple cloud service adoption is a good thing. So that's delivered many benefits, but because it gives businesses a new level of choice and flexibility, but it still needs to be managed in a coherent way. So we'll talk about that. Just want to go through some Cisco. The 2022 Global Hybrid Cloud Trends Report found complexity and security is a challenge for many customers. So they surveyed 2,500 respondents from across the globe, and the results were clear. So more than 90%, so 92% of organizations are using two or more public cloud providers. So that shows that multi-cloud is here to stay, it's not going anywhere. And within that, 82% have adopted hybrid cloud. So hybrid being the integration of different cloud components to give a solution for the business. But they also highlighted the security and complexity are the biggest challenges. So multi-cloud is here to stay, hybrid cloud is here, but complexity is a challenge. Now we see within that, hybrid cloud is driving the adoption of emerging technologies. So we'll talk about a bit about that today, where hybrid cloud has given rise to a new industry of cloud management and automation. And the research also found that collaboration is required for success. So respondents want to see more collaboration between networking and cloud operations teams to help improve cloud security and operational efficiency. So we'll talk about that as well. So what does that look like in the real world? Well, cloud complexity, another key theme we want to convey in our virtual event is that it impacts the whole business, not just IT. So getting all the business and IT and service provider vendor stakeholders aligned and happy is difficult. Complexity can impact cost, obviously. So things like over provisioning, cloud sprawl, applications not being right sized. So we'll talk about that as well, and applications not being utilized properly. So play on that is software as a service, so to speak. So if a lot of organizations might be procuring cloud services they don't take advantage of in the best way or not use at all even. Performance, so if applications aren't right side, you could lead to a poor user experience, long times to take, routine tasks like data mining and analytics, as we saw in the on-prem world, that could be replicated in the cloud, which can lead to manual intervention, which obviously defeats the purpose of having automated cloud. Business units, as I mentioned previously, the cloud and the many as-a-service components is great for business units because they can procure what they need. But if there's no peer review or oversight, it can lead to data silos, which invariably falls on IT. Security. So unfortunately, we still see a lot of high-profile security breaches. That doesn't go in the way in the cloud. If anything, it's more complex. This can lead to more potential vulnerabilities. And what else is also important is app assurance. Are the applications secure by design? Do you have secure access to your data? Things like that. And culminating in poor collaboration. So a lack of integration across platforms can lead to silos and people not collaborating well. Poor governance and oversight, and we'll talk about governance a bit later, and repeating bad processes. Okay, so key theme here is cloud complexity affects the whole business, not just IT or one particular business unit. And that's the bad news. The good news is we'll talk about there's now an emerging industry in technology and services to be able to deal with these challenges. And what do you know? Everything falls on IT. So IT operations teams are always under pressure at the best of times. But if they've got numerous stakeholders procuring different cloud services, then it just makes their job a lot harder. They have to deal with increasing complexity while meeting requirements from the business and senior management, all while ensuring security and end user performance. So what are the options for customers? Unfortunately, doing nothing is always an option, as I'll teach you in project management school, but in this case, doing nothing carries a risk. So you can't just let nature take its course when it comes to cloud. It's time to treat Cloud App Insight as a strategic to the whole business, not just IT or any particular unit. So doing nothing can result in conflicts, from lack of visibility across applications and infrastructure, unnecessary time and costs wasted with multiple platform-specific tools, and costs from over-provisioning, insufficient capacity management, as we discussed, app performance issues impacting user experience and business agility, and keeping track of and adhering to compliance rules. So that's another topic we'll cover off. Another important one is end-of-life software and hardware and data center contracts. So our organizations, prudently manage the life cycle of applications, whether they be on-prem or cloud. That's, as part of there's a risk factor, and it needs to be considered as part of your strategic portfolio. So the importance of our first subsection is the importance of application right-sizing. So in this section, we'll talk about application right-sizing and its importance, and I'll invite some of the other panelists to join in the discussion. So why right-sizing is important? Well, we've seen a lot of talk about cloud-first policies. Does that really mean anything in the real world? Okay, cloud's here to stay. That's a given, and organization may have a posture to adopt cloud first more than anything else. But the real strategic, position for an organization is to be cloud right, not necessarily cloud first. So there are, no shortage of cloud services, as we saw. But it's important to get it right, and that's where application right-sizing is part of that. So if cloud app journeys have even failed because costs went over and right-sizing wasn't done properly from the beginning and performance wasn't obtained. So I'll ask Brendan from Secure Agility to give us his thoughts on this topic. So why do you think right-sizing is so important for organisations that are in the middle of adopting a portfolio of cloud services?
Thanks, Rodney. Well, the main objective in right-sizing is to obtain efficiency in running your workloads in the public cloud arena, and the importance of that is to make sure that your cloud adoption journey is a success. So often that means application workloads have enough resources to operate properly and run at an effective cost, reducing the costs that are unnecessary. The mission critical applications need to perform well. So again, that means allocating the appropriate resources to them to make them run efficiently and meet their objectives in terms of the usability and deliver the services they need to do. Determine how the application fits into a portfolio. We need to ensure that is a good fit for the application, the platform's services and its capabilities. Then understanding the majority of the cloud adoption and strategy is important to really ensure that the right workloads are migrated. That you choose the right platform for the workload itself, and you're not just dumping everything into one platform without more thought on that.
Okay.
So we've got better options nowadays in being able to assess those, to do some analysis on them, and that's one of the examples of Cisco Intersight there.
Okay, Brendan, thanks for that. We'll now look at a video demonstration. So you might be wondering what cloud complexity looks like in the real world. Well, to answer that, we now have a video demonstration of Cisco's technology. So I'll ask Roger to talk us through this one. So it's good to see more options available for customers when it comes to cloud optimization. And if we just move to the video and get that going, I'll hand over to Roger.
Yeah, thanks, Rodney. Look, Cisco Intersight Workload Optimizer team is a single SaaS-delivered platform, helps you understand and measure application performance across cloud, DC, and edge locations. For Cisco, it's a central part of our full-stack observability strategy, and it's integrated into our application performance management tools. So if we take a closer look here, we can provide an entire view of what we call the cloud supply chain for the application itself. It can clearly map out the relationships between business transactions at the top, application components, and infrastructure. Moving on here, we're selecting a new plan to optimize for one of our clouds. Here, we're selecting the scope of our optimization plan. And in this, we can focus on a range of attributes, from billing families to resource groups. And when we then select Azure, we can go into more detail about our optimization settings itself. Here, we're selecting optimized services and buy reserved instances. And then further, we go into those settings and we can select more settings than what's just here, and then run the plan to see the results. We're then presented with this plan, and the results of it show how to optimize the environment according to your own application requirements, including efficiency opportunities, performance risks, and compliance risks. In this example, we're lowering overall costs through the use of reserved instances for scaling requirements, and the plan itself will result in an optimized Azure environment and an overall cost reduction of around 16.5%. So in summary, Intersight Workload Optimizer, Rodney and team, is different because it simultaneously helps you to assure application performance and optimize your cloud spend. And because we go beyond what the hypervisor itself sees, we can also help to accurately model your own cloud migration requirements for Azure, AWS, and Google. Thanks, Rodney.
Thanks, Roger, for that walkthrough. And so quick question for you. What are some of the features customers can get immediate benefit from?
Yeah, we see the majority of benefit coming from just simply your teams understanding the interdependencies between the application, the workload, and the infrastructure itself. With Intersight Workload Optimizer, the more data we provide to it, the better the analysis is, the better performance, cost, and compliance it can provide you, and the recommendations that it surfaces up. We can either manually initiate those recommendations, or you can in fact automate some of those changes itself, perhaps where it's low risk. But having that broad perspective beyond just the hypervisor is the most important part there, and that's where we support over 50 plus target types ranging from load balancers, databases, middleware, and other types of targets as well that just help to enrich the environment. So we're talking about AI ops helping to really simplify decision making for your team, especially when we're talking about cloud migration, and then deliver against what the business expects for app performance and reduce risk along the way.
Okay, great. Thanks for that, Roger. So now we'll cover exciting development, going from cost analysis to cost prediction. And I'll just start by introducing another Secure Agility team member, Tim. So with going on cost analysis, looking forward to cost prediction. So there are now multiple options for modeling application infrastructure dependencies, and it's, in the past it's generally easy enough to do a retrospective analysis and find out where you're spending and what's happening. But with the rapid adoption of cloud services, it's more important than ever to be more proactive, essentially, and do more cost prediction. So I've got a question for Tim, and what are some of the big advantages of cost prediction over previous cost analysis that customers might be used to?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Rodney. So yeah, look, we're really finding a lot of customers are telling us, it's really great to cost optimize and analyze retrospectively. But however, we're hearing the customers are now telling us that is actually not enough. They actually need to provide the cost predictions and expectations back to the business about moving on their workloads in whether it be in the cloud or on-prem. And customers are also looking at that specific application that sits, whether it be in the cloud or on-prem, what is the best performance for these applications to run. So therefore, having that prediction of what's the best performance, but also from a cost perspective. We recently had a customer came to us and actually was looking to move one of their applications from on-prem to the cloud. And the main reason for that was they're actually taking this application that was consumed internally to be now as a new revenue stream to be consumed externally within the other stakeholders, their business partners. And this is where that cost prediction and that performance prediction is really important before they actually push on and release into the cloud. And this is where it's vital that they actually understand as the adoption of their SaaS application increases, but it's also a cost prediction and also modeling to back to the business as well.
Okay, great, thanks. And it's worth noting here that another insight from Cisco's study was that executives estimate that 30% of their cloud spend is wasted, which is a lot, right? And hopefully cost prediction can go a long way to reducing that. So we'll move on and talk about application governance for compliance and risk management. And look, proper cloud management involves more than optimization, of course, because organizations have to deal with governance and compliance and risk management. So in this section, we'll talk about that. I'll just introduce Brendan again. And so when it comes to application governance, there's both technology and expertise at play. And MSPs like Secure Agility are well placed to offer customers both. So it's not just a matter of either or. So there's technology and services at play here. So another question for Brendan: how can MSP help customers benefit from AI ops to improve cloud performance, but also meet compliance requirements and therefore reduce risk?
Thanks, Rodney. So delivered as a service, the workload optimization service is able to connect applications with infrastructure, which provides a correlation of the visibility and across and management across all the components. So we'll have a hybrid view of all the workloads across the multiple platforms, and we offer this service to continually optimize the workloads on those platforms. The tool that we use here, being the iWay Cisco Optimizer, helps transform using AI ops, which ensures application performance and reduces costs, optimizes costs, ensuring that the applications do have the resources they need while using the most efficient cost services available. And the compliance is maintained by ensuring that we've got those guardrails in place and we're across them, across the multiple platforms, including the cost guardrails to ensure that overspend doesn't happen. And some of those security compliance requirements are met.
Yeah. So as an MSP, you're sort of already active in the security and compliance and risk management space, perhaps for a long time for customers.
Yeah. So we've got a good understanding of those requirements across multiple platforms. So we use that to ensure that customers operate their workloads efficiently across those platforms while maintaining compliance. So it's having an understanding of what the customer's business objectives are with their workloads in accordance with the technical features of the platforms, the limitations and whatnot, and then those putting those guardrails across them to ensure that they don't overspend and they don't make changes that cause security issues and that compliance is maintained.
Okay, thank you, Brendan. That's good insights. Now we'll move on to modelling. So as we mentioned, with the good news is there's more advanced tooling now available for predictive analysis and modelling for data-driven decision making. So in this section, we will look at, in keeping with the theme of being more proactive in the cloud, we can take out the guesswork when it comes to cloud provisioning and management and use modelling. So Brendan, while we're on this topic, I'll ask another question to you. So what can customers expect as a result of a data-driven model? What would typical recommendations look like?
So this is a really good way to assess the potential costs of moving to a cloud platform, and particularly the public cloud providers, to ensure that you've got a good understanding of them before you embark on your cloud migration journey. So the tool can look at the real world usage of resources by those workloads and model them across a variety of scenarios on multiple cloud platforms. So you can play around and have a look at what the potential costs are for running workloads across different cloud providers, and then fine tune and take workloads out, put workloads in, whatnot, to figure out what the most efficient way of running those workloads are, including incorporating some of the savings benefits of cloud platforms like reserved instances. So having that broad overview at the start is a good thing to do before putting any investments into that cloud migration strategy. The modeling leads to cost analysis, which includes cost analysis, which provides that predictive cost feature, which allows you to model that. Those what-if scenarios, what was just mentioned before, where we can look at multiple scenarios those workloads can sit on in multiple cloud platforms before we execute. All of this is really intended to avoid that scenario of having a unplanned cost blowout, where customers and organizations have found that they have embarked on a journey expecting a certain outcome, so expecting certain costs, and then found the reality being very different because they didn't quite understand the real world nature of their applications, or they didn't right size the applications appropriately into doing that migration, or didn't understand the implications of that platform before the migration strategy is executed.
Okay, well, thanks, Brendan. And that's another important finding from Cisco's research, with 7 in 10 organisations have experienced higher than expected cloud costs, to demonstrate the need for better decision making from the start. So thank you for that. So we'll move on. In this next section, we'll talk about this final section of our virtual event. So why can't I just use what is available with my cloud service? So that's a poignant question many CIOs or business leaders might ask, is that what is already available? So I'll ask Tim from Secure Agility to take the floor on this one again. Why aren't the native features enough when it comes to modeling cloud spend and management? So if you can talk us through that, that'd be great.
Yeah, thanks, Ronnie. So firstly, I'd actually like to call out the cloud native tools are actually really, really good. They do provide the same, the cost optimization and performance optimization as well. So which leads to the question, what is the gap? A lot of our customers are either on the transitioning from on-prem to cloud. And as we've been discussing, and through the different guys that talked about, we're also having customers running on different hybrid environments, whether that be multiple cloud environments or on-prem as well. And this is where having a cloud native tools may not give you that unified view of the entire environment. And this is why, having a tool like Cisco Insights really, really gives us that single pane of glass, as Roger was, showing through the demonstration, giving us a broad view of on-prem and also hybrid cloud environments as well.
Okay, thanks for that, Tim. So to finish up, Secure Agility offers a application modeling assessment package. So I'll ask Brendan to say a few words about what this offers customers looking to get more out of cloud.
So this is a package that we offer, which includes a service that we provide where we deploy a tool in your environment to do some discovery. It will do some analysis of the application workload utilization across the different environments that you want to look at, and we'll run that for a period of a couple of weeks to a month to get some real world usage data. We run workshops with you to discuss what the objectives are for your cloud migration strategy, and then combine that data we've gathered in the discovery to do some analysis with your objectives, combine that with your objectives to assess and report on exactly what the best scenario for your application workloads is. So we'll provide a report that shows the costs across the platforms that you're looking at, the workloads, the individual workload costs as well, break that down, and then show what those different scenarios look like before you decide to invest in that cloud adoption journey. So that really is intended to provide IT managers with real-world data, data-driven decision-making that allows them to present to their superiors a package which is predictive and likely to meet its intended objectives.
Okay, thanks, Brendan. So we now have time for questions and answers. So I'd like to thank Tim and Brendan from Secure Agility and Roger from Cisco for participating in today's virtual event. If we have any questions, we can take them now. We have one about the vendor NMSP benefit. So someone's asking, what is the benefit of working with an MSP for application right sizing and cloud optimization? So who'd like to take that one?
I can take that. Well, the biggest benefit is that an MSP will take care of all those mundane bread and butter tasks that organizations get bogged down with. So we've got staff and processes and tools and automation in place to take care of those day-to-day activities like backups and patching and antivirus and that sort of thing, but have also an understanding of what the applications are intended to do and what the requirements are. So some of those are security requirements, compliance requirements, and along with the understanding of the platform, be able to recommend and appropriately right-size those applications on the platforms. So it's really about managing the underlying infrastructure, the underlying platform, in a way that combines our extended experience and knowledge, along with the management of those day-to-day activities to take the load off customers' IT departments so that they can focus more on the applications themselves and other strategic decision making.
Okay, thanks, Brendan. And we have another question for Roger. So what are some of the typical sort of return customers are experiencing with the Insight tool?
I think the best way to answer that, Rodney, is we see an initial cost saving and application performance increased. We can produce results in a matter of hours, but the more data we ingest into the platform, the better and more accurate we become in recommendations and the analysis. from the complete environment, from business transactions, through app components, through containerized app services, all the way through to the infrastructure and data stores. So over time, we get more accurate, and you see that cost optimization on cloud or efficiency improvement on-prem start to come through. But this isn't a set and forget and let's do it once and then go back to the way that we were operating. The most benefit we see is, in fact, through continual improvement, through constant checking of performance, compliance, and cost optimization in that order. And that's where we really see customers harness the benefit of the platform and really bring their teams together, as you touched on earlier, Rodney, across security, collaboration, have a better and more cohesive operating rhythm around cloud.
Okay, thanks, Roger. So we've come to the end of our virtual event. Is there any other comments that my fellow panelists would like to make before we finish up? Nothing at this time. Well, certainly an important topic and one we're going to see a lot more of in 2023. So if any of the attendees have any follow-up queries, please contact the team at Secure Agility, and they'll be back in touch. But for now, we can finish up. So thank you everyone for attending, and thank you Tim and Brendan from Secure Agility and Roger from Cisco.